let's be honest, this is going to be your favorite podcast. No, no, I'm telling you the truth. If you stick around long enough, it's absolutely going to be your favorite podcast. And this is exactly why. Thank you so much for joining us for a brand new episode. It's a brand new week, a brand new episode, and a brand new topic. I told you guys this is the place where we have conversations about things that matter. And if you are seeing my face for the first time, welcome. Take a seat and you are going to absolutely enjoy the ride. I'm a really good driver, by the way. If you didn't know, I'm a really, really good driver. So that's why I'm saying take a seat. You're going to enjoy the ride. Let's head straight into this topic immediately after this.
Okay, I know they lack nothing, look at me. And you to bless me on the daily. You know I get it when you tell me no. This thing where I want to go. You set me from myself. You're so intentional for me. And other people waving tell me no. You get a little team with them, no, no. Your grace, you go end discussion, no, no.
So no matter who you are, what you have been, or where you have been, you have probably also just had this challenge, It is called learning how to deal with challenges, learning how to deal with struggles, and moving from one place to the other. When we talk about these conversations, and especially what we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, it becomes so difficult because some people are like, but I still am going through so many challenges, things are so tough. And Tumi, you keep on saying stuff like, it's just the relationship that matters. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I feel like will help us, how to actually not struggle with the challenges. And in a lot of places, in a lot of instances, people find themselves struggling with these challenges because of some of the things I'm going to talk about today. But I think at the end of this episode, you will be a little bit better at it. You will understand it a little bit more. And for me, I think that these are some of the lessons I have learned. And of course, I'm always willing to share the lessons that I've learned. And if you have other things that you have maybe experienced or other ways that you think that we can learn these lessons better, please share them in the comment section. While you're liking, subscribing, commenting, and doing all of those other things, maybe also just put that down there and let us know what you think. Let us know what your thoughts are around this particular topic. But our topic today is how to actually deal with struggle. And struggle can be so many things. It can be defined in different ways, and many people struggle with different things. Some people really struggle with internal battles, internal conflicts, and these are things that you are feeling, these are things that you have gone through, these are traumas, these are things that you have personally felt, whether physically, emotionally, psychologically, sometimes even financially. They build like walls in your mind. They build things that look like hindrances. They build strongholds for you that you become someone who really then struggles with them. And that's why I'm saying today we are talking about how to deal with struggle. That's the first part. Then you get other people who deal with stuff that are external. In one of the episodes, we spoke about how, your relationship and the fact that you're born again has nothing really to do with where you are born and the circumstances of your birth, where you are from, the parents you were born to, the culture you were born in, and all of those things. But sometimes people struggle to marry the two. They struggle to have a nice dance and a nice communication between the two. And today I want us to talk about how you can deal with internal and external struggles. The principles are the same in terms of how you're going to change this. They are really the same, and it's in you applying them that you will start seeing just how similar they are and almost really the same thing. And in my looking at it and in my perspective, I've always tried to be objective, even with challenges that I'm facing. And I learned to also swallow my pills. And what I mean by swallow my pills, I mean, I learned to also look at the challenge for what it is and then deal with it. And the first point I have here is that we need to admit that the struggle is real. It's not normal, but it is real. A lot of times we find ourselves denying the facts. We find ourselves denying the presence of this particular challenge or the presence of this particular struggle. And if you don't admit it, there's no way that you will ever be able to solve for it, because you are running away from the actual fact. You are running away from the fact that this is actually something you are struggling with. So there's no way you are going to find a resolution to it. And it is incorrect to think that it is faith when you are denying facts. Faith is not denying facts. Faith is you superimposing God's will on those facts. This might be something you are going through, yes, sure. But that's not what God's plan for your life is, and that's not what you are meant to be going through. So that's why I'm saying the struggle is real. However, it is not normal. And it's also okay for you to know that it's not something you should accept. So don't normalize it. That's why I'm saying it's there, it exists. However, it's not something that is supposed to be there. So you do find sometimes that someone is going through a particular challenge that is sickness, and the sickness is in the person's body. And instead of the person confessing the right thing, they are saying that the thing is not there. And you won't get to a solution in that way. In that manner, you then almost babysit, the challenge that you're facing, instead of actually dealing with it and confronting it. And why I was saying it's not normal is that when you normalize it, you accept it, and you now take it, and it becomes a part of you. And to a certain extent, people make it a part of their identity. It becomes who and what I am. Hence, I'm saying struggle is not normal. It is absolutely not normal. And you must never allow the enemy to tell you that the struggle that you're facing is normal. The struggle can be external in terms of your family life, some of the challenges you've gone through in your family, your upbringing, sometimes even the traumas that you faced when you were a young person. That is not normal. There's a better life that you were meant to live. And the fact that you experience that doesn't mean that that is how the rest of your life should look. So very, very important that you allow yourself to also see the possibility of living life without this thing, without babysitting this fact. And if it's internal, that is one of the most jarring things even, because now you also don't understand why you have this deep-seated feeling about this particular thing. But like I said, if you refuse to normalize it for yourself, that is when then you can start seeing a change. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be a continuous journey of you moving away. But there's this beautiful video I saw on the gram once, like a while ago though, and of course then we saw different sequels of them, where this person had like a glass that had a black liquid inside, and then opened a tap and filled the tap filled a jug with water, and then started pouring that clean water into this cup that had, or this glass that had the black substance. And slowly but surely, the water started changing color while the black substance was pouring out. And you see, one of the things about that particular video for me is that when you look at it, it is like a 1 minute or even sometimes a 30-second video. However, it is that journey or that process of you removing the black substance and putting in a clean version takes a while. It's not something that happened like that. It was a process. And one of the other things that I've learned from that particular thing that some people don't really see is that when the water is pouring out and there's water pouring in, that black substance pours out and it creates a mess. And that's how sometimes it is. When you are dealing with some of these struggles, it's messy. It's not cute. And it's creating like a mess around the glass. And if someone was to see you who doesn't know what you're going through, they would just be thinking, man, like, look at this place. It's the contents of the struggle are everywhere. They are, contaminating the area, if you would want to say that, where the glass is. But in a matter of time, what happens is that substance dissipates. Now the water inside is clear. Now even the overflow that was there with the dirty substance is now getting cleared up. And that's how we move with dealing with challenges, with dealing with struggles, taking it as a journey. And of course, this journey will never be something that you can do without the Spirit of God, His grace, and His word. And you see, those three things I've been thinking about so intently, and very soon we'll have like another conversation about them, but they will help you in that particular journey. And it becomes for me where when that is happening, even the people around you will just be like, "Kanti ibile ho so." But what you are not seeing is that there's a purification and a beauty that is about to come. So you would need to be patient as the person who is going through this thing, whether it's a financial struggle, whether it's something that's physical, something that is emotional. The emotional ones are even the worst, because sometimes the emotional ones, you don't see them. Like you can't see them. You know, something that's financial now, it's easy because then the money comes in and now you have to make decisions that you wouldn't do, and all of those things, in terms of if you would be the person that spends a lot. Now you can't really do those things. You have to find yourself in places where, you know, you are taking decisions that really work for you in terms of financial sagacity and being clever with your finances. And that, you know, that we can see. But when it comes to the emotions, you can't touch feelings. You can't touch how much your heart pounds when you think about that thing, or how your palms sweat when you thinking about this particular challenge. It's one of the most inanimate things that change your appearance and your showing up. So when it comes to such things, you can't, if you want to confront those struggles, you can't pretend they're not there. You can't, because you pretending they're not there, you have not even started. So the first thing is to admit that the struggle is there and refuse to normalize it. Refuse to build little coys out of them, you know. That's one of the things our parents used to do. Our parents used to do that a lot, where instead of dealing with the challenge, they start building a little system on how to then babysit this challenge. They know that at this point, your dad doesn't want to talk about this particular thing. So every time this thing needs to be done, they will find a way to not talk about it, however, have a way to deal with it. Instead of just having actually that conversation that everybody's running away from, and then we can then start dealing with the rest of it. One of the things we said in the previous episode is that people don't struggle with making decisions. Decision making, you know what the decision you are supposed to make is. The challenge you then have is how to then deal with the repercussions of that decision. Cool. Let me move on. And this is one of those conversations that I have with myself so much. And the next one, of course, or the next point is struggling or having this particular experience does not mean that you are failing in life. It does not mean that your Christianity is not genuine, nor does it even mean that you are doing something wrong. So it's when we look at the Bible, and I've always said this to my friends, to say, I don't know if it's just me, but when I look at the Bible and look at the characters in the Bible, those people went through the most, man. Like, some of the things they were going through, you're just like, I really wonder what I would have done. You know, remember we spoke about lived out experiences, but this in this particular one, or in this particular example, I'm talking about how Abraham had a challenge, right? Let's look at Paul. Let's look at David. Let's look at some of these great men. Let's look at Moses and look at how they didn't have picture perfect lives. In turn, they had lives that were seeking and very intentional towards God. So I don't know why we think we should have lives that are picture perfect. So God is not trying to humble you with a struggle. He's not trying to keep you in your box. And even the struggle doesn't come from him. It comes from the situations and circumstances that we find ourselves in this corrupt life or this corrupt world that we live in. Because he does not use the tactics of the devil. And of course, some of them, of course, are demon inspired, and I wouldn't know which one is which, but I would. The struggles come from different things, and I say demon inspired because there are forces and forces of darkness and spiritual darkness that we live with in this world. So that's where sometimes these things come from. And the only thing that we know is that we can only struggle if we lack knowledge. And hence we have conversations like this where we are like, I don't want anybody to think that God is the reason why they are going through a particular challenge. I'm going through this. God gave me this sickness so that he can humble me. He ain't going to do that. That's not something that God does. So it's very important that we look at things like that. And you refusing to surrender to this, refusing to surrender to a struggle, to a challenge, is the reason why you would then see that God didn't give it to you. Because if he gave it to you, why wouldn't you just then surrender? Your body is not going to just accept it. You understand what I mean? That's why your body would then get sick. I hope we're going somewhere with it. But for me, really, I want us to always look at it how from different angles and look at it critically. Let's not look at it from a point of view of someone's understanding. Let's look at it from what I believe, what you believe, and what the Word of God says. Because then that would be what formulates our actual opinions. So very important for us. Let's move on to my next point, where I have always said this is one of the biggest coys, guys, that the enemy gives us and puts in our lives. Because once he gets us here, so when it comes to the struggle, right, the enemy wants us to misinterpret God and his word. And hence, I was mentioning some of the things I was mentioning in our previous point. The realization I came to not too long ago was how he makes the things that are important in our lives seem like they are not important. He changes the perspective of the things that we are supposed to be facing and making it look a certain way. Let me just give you a quick story, quick analogy. So let's look at this girl. Her name is Sarah, and I'm going to be speaking totally hypothetically. Her name is Sarah, and she just got born again. She's somebody who, in her family, did not have a lot of support in terms of, she went to varsity, her parents loved her, but her parents did what they could. Doesn't come from a well-off family. I mean, her parents were trying their best rather, and gave her the life they believe she could have, at the time. She finds herself in a space where she gets born again. She's now with this group of friends. They all got born again together. They were in varsity and what have you. And now she's, instead of going home and helping her family understand the gospel and understand the message, she finds herself now fighting her family because she believes that the problem is her parents. And that's why I say, do you understand just how problematic that can be for a whole family? Instead of her going into her family and the same gospel that she received to go into her family and give them solution, the gospel that is now there is the one of division. That's the enemy using what is meant for good and trying to weaponize it. And that's why I'm saying we should never allow such things to happen. If you are feeling that your parents are the challenge, trust me, they are not. They are not. In fact, anybody you believe is the challenge is actually not. Now, this gospel that you are meant to bring into your family, for it to bring light, for it to bring life, you are using it to condemn your family, or Sarah's using it to condemn her family. And instead of the family moving closer to God, they are moving further away. And we do that a lot. We do that a lot with friends. We do that a lot with family. We do that a lot even in the workspace. Because the enemy is using what was meant for good and turning it. And we know what that actual saying says, that God will use what was meant for bad for good. And that's what I want us to do. Turn that little struggle, turn that little challenge into a testimony. And the only way you can turn it into a testimony is by using God's principles for it to move from where it was chilling, for it to work for you. And that's how we do it. Don't allow the enemy to to speak to you, to manifest through you. And it becomes so easy. And sometimes people are like, nah, but this is how I feel. Yeah, that's what he's doing. That's why earlier on I was saying that you regulate your feelings. You speak, you allow the struggle to have. You don't normalize the fact, and you're just like, no, I can just get angry. And when I'm angry, I'm irrational. You already know where the problem is. We said that in our previous video to say one of those cool habits is that you're not taking a decision from a place of emotion, whether the emotion is negative or whether it's positive. Because sometimes we take decisions from positive stances as well, and the decisions actually don't benefit us because we're just so excited. And then we take that decision and it actually doesn't benefit us in the long run. So dealing with that struggle is not allowing the enemy to speak to you with it. That challenge came in. Yes, it's there. Yes, we are not going to normalize it. Yes, we are not. It does not mean that I'm failing. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to allow the enemy to tell me stuff. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to win. I'm so going to win. It's never going to happen that I am on the back foot because of this one challenge. It's not going to decrease the quality of my life just because this is something I faced. And one of the things that I like is that with the country we were born in South Africa, I mean, there was something I used to like growing up. I think it was one of the presidents who used to say it, and it would say South Africa is a life with possibility. And I would always wonder, I wonder what he's talking about. I wonder what he means. And I got to understand it very late on in life. But one of the other lovely things that I have learned over the years is that these things we go through, these struggles we go through, produce something in us. They produce something in us, and the product it's going to produce is going to depend on you. It's going to depend on how you do the three things that I was just mentioning now. It's going to depend on how you take that process of pruning. That process can easily be something that changes your life for the better or changes your life for the worst because you are not responding the right way. You are allowing the situation to take over and actually find residence and chill. You actually don't want it to be gone. I don't know if you've met someone and within the first 2-3 minutes of you knowing them, the person has already told you all about what they've gone through, all about their challenges, all about what, because they have now made this thing their identity. Is it not okay for you to say, yes, I've gone through this, but man, I've come through on the other side? I was listening to the Netflix documentary on Mam Winnie, and I was sitting there and I said to myself, it's either one of two things. It's either this mama knew that this thing was going to end and she was going to win, or she is just so bold, man. She just has this courage. She is a fearless lion. And I don't know why I was just believing the latter because, I was believing the fact that she's a fierce lion. And I was like, if you just took a page from her book and used it for your own life, imagine what would happen. Imagine if you defied every challenge and every circumstance that was meant to hinder your growth and your progress. And you just said, nah, I'm going forward. No maganjan. No matter what happens, winner is what I will be. Champion is what I'm going to do. And that's why I said in one of our episodes to say, sometimes young Christians want to conquer, but they don't want to engage in the battle. Then how are you going to conquer? How are you going to win if you don't want to compete? It really doesn't sit, guys. It doesn't make sense. And that's why I'm saying these challenges that we face sometimes, they produce in us. Because, all things work together for good. Even those things that you do not like, they work together for our good. Sometimes it's not good. Sometimes it's not enjoyable, rather, not good. The thing is not enjoyable. You're not enjoying it. But it's working together for your good. So look at it to say, it's not a sign of weakness. It's part of a process. And every time you resist it, every time you resist the urge to conform, you are growing. You are getting better. You are moving from the place that you were yesterday to another place. So we are going to go into this week looking at ourselves critically to say, what are some of the things that I've been babysitting? What are some of the challenges that I've even gotten known for? I've built a reputation to be this person, and my family now knows it. My friends now know it. My partner now knows it. And they're just okay now. Like, they're okay. But you know that without this particular struggle, without this particular challenge, you would live a better quality of life. It's time to look at it intently and say, for the next couple of weeks, this is how I'm going to work at solving it. This is how I'm going to work at not puffing. This is how I'm going to work at not pleasuring myself. This is how I'm going to work at not drinking excessively. This is how I'm going to work at communicating better. This is how I'm going to work at not spending impulsively. There are so many things that we could mention. Some of them are emotional. This is how I'm going to be kinder to myself. Because sometimes when we think about kindness, we think about other people. But sometimes you need to be kind to yourself before you are even kinder to anybody else. This is how I'm going to show up at work. This is how I'm going to do what I'm meant to do. This is how I'm going to be a better parent, a better husband, a better son. That's just something we're going to be doing this week for ourselves. And that is how you move out of this place of continuous and constant struggle. Because we can pray about it. You can receive words of prophecy about it. You can do the spiritual work. But until you put in the actual physical work, physical effort, we will still be dreaming. We will still be hoping. And that is how we wrap up today's episode. I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, where we have another conversation that matter. So please do ensure you follow us on all social media platforms and give this video a like, give it a comment, and maybe share it with someone who you think might need information like this. Have an absolutely great one.
You call mine. Me, I could date when you call mine.